How do you deal with people who, because it must be frustrating when you can clearly see over time people are not taking the advice, they're not applying things, they're not listening to you. How do you approach that?
Well, on a regular basis, I try to catch that if it is happening. So with every step that we take in therapy, I'll try to review with every client how they feel about it, if they feel that it's solving the core problem, if they feel that there's something missing that we haven't yet addressed. I try to get that. I try to catch that as it's happening. Um, if it seems from the feedback in each of those instances that what we've discussed hasn't been implemented, and I'll normally ask explicitly if a client has implemented strategies that we've discussed. It's then we then explore why it's happening. So, are these strategies meaningful to you? Are they accessible? Do you find that there's a difficulty in engaging with them, or do you find that they're not helpful? Try to establish what's stopping them, and try to adjust them from that point onwards. To a certain extent, if we've established the core of the problem and we've been able to identify it, and the client's able to articulate it, and they're still not using anything that we're discussing, and they can't articulate any real barriers to it, usually, I won't say in every case, but usually what's manifesting is what we call avoidance, which basically means not engaging with something because it's uncomfortable. And what a lot of people don't realize is that psychotherapy, when you execute what you learn in psychotherapy, it's not like medicine whereby you simply take a prescription drug and it acts on you. It's a passive process. Proper psychotherapy involves deliberately changing your habits. That's an active process. And a lot of people may not be ready for that, even though we may discuss it and say this is going to involve making regular changes. A lot of people may not be ready for them. And the changes are often quite uncomfortable, even though they're not harmful. So sometimes we do have to have an honest conversation and say, look, this is going to be an uncomfortable process, but the only way to really change is if you do engage with it. And even if you feel like it's going to be tough or it's going to be uncomfortable, do it anyway, because that's the only way you can actually start to make the process comfortable, is by becoming accustomed to the challenge.
I know you can't talk about like specific instances, but what would you say are some of the biggest challenges you faced with clients over the years as a counsellor?
I'd say some of the biggest challenges are that once we've established what it is that the client is actually experiencing, the essence of the problem, so to speak. Once we've established strategies, to be fair, most of my clients do engage with the strategies that we discuss. So that's to their credit. They're taking an active part in the process. But if there is a challenge, it's when we talk about why the strategies haven't worked and people say, "Oh, look, I just don't feel like it," or people might reflect and say, "Oh, look, I just don't know if it's going to work," or "I just don't know. It just doesn't. I just don't feel like it's going to be successful." And this is where we have to have an honest conversation about why problems continue. And the most common reason that problems continue is because if we tell ourselves that we're not going to be successful, we're not going to try. If we don't try, it's going to very much fulfill the idea that we're not going to be successful. It's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is the vernacular for it. And the biggest challenge sometimes is actually sitting people down and saying, look, I know this is difficult for you, but your mind is trying to avoid engaging because it knows the process is going to be uncomfortable. It's already accustomed to failure. It doesn't want the disappointment of further failure. The only way to have a chance at success is to risk failure, is to get up one day, try doing something that you thought you hopelessly couldn't do, fail, do it again and again and again until you succeed. And then you show yourself that you are worth the effort because you can succeed. And that's the type of problem that I'd say is most common. And people do overcome it with effort, with enough effort generally.